Go, go,
Sorry about that, man. I had no idea
Nah, it's chill, though.
my data was low.
Nah, it's chill, my man.
Okay, I think I was just on that trajectory of saying that
Yeah,
I'm picking up that our fan base kind of doesn't acknowledge. Maybe tactically, yes, we acknowledge and players, performing exceedingly, but like exceedingly above what we expected them to. But we're not giving enough credit to this fighting spirit that is really starting to be instilled in our team.
yeah. But so
Yeah.
the thing is that, my issue is that the fighting spirit and the organization can only get us so far.
Mm,
So what I'm saying with the current squad we've got, an Arteta extracting what he's extracting out of them. For me, I still think that the maximum that Arteta can get out of these guys is maybe a fifth or sixth place finish in the league. And for me, it's that's still not good enough, and that's not through no fault of his own. I
mm,
personally think that he's getting the absolute
mm,
maximum out of a
mm,
lot of these players
mm,
that,
mm,
we've got at the moment.
mm,
And if these guys are serious and they're saying that they want to push
mm.
for top four, we can't be getting outspent by Aston Villa in the transfer window. If you're really being serious,
Mm,
especially now with Man United dawdling like us, they leaving the door open us because everyone else around us is strengthening. It's not like Wolves are not strengthening; they're strengthening.
mm,
Leicester are strengthening. You're
mm,
looking at Tottenham now. All of a sudden,
mm,
they've kicked
mm,
out a second win, and
mm,
they're strengthening.
mm,
You know,
mm,
Chelsea, we all know what they've done over
mm,
this past transfer window.
mm,
And then I'm
mm,
not even going to talk about Liverpool
mm,
because we're not even in their league.
mm,
We're
mm.
not competing with those guys at the moment.
Yeah.
So, and that's what my kind of like my viewpoint is formed by. It's that situation that forms my views. And I'm not saying that Arteta is not doing well. I think he's doing
Mm,
fantastically well
mm,
at the moment. Look, but the thing is though that for me also it's still early. It's still early days
mm,
for him.
mm,
Still, in my
mm,
opinion,
mm,
yes, the signs are promising, but and everything's doing it, but he still hasn't been in the job for 2 years. I'm
mm,
still as much as if we were still getting beaten and we hadn't won the cup, and we were performing poorly, I'd be saying that give him time. Let's see,
mm,
maybe until the end of next year. Let's reassess. Then I'm saying the same thing now, as I'll say. The guy's doing fantastically well. He's exceeding expectations. But then now let's not go and expect him to perform miracles with
mm,
this squad because at the end of the day, I also don't want people turning around now and blaming Arteta when we don't finish in the Champions League and saying you should have finished in the Champions League. Where, in my opinion, that's an unrealistic
yeah.
goal that we are setting for this guy based on the
Mm,
current squad. Yes,
mm,
if they go and sign the two central midfielders that we've been linked with, then maybe I can say, you know what? Now this guy's been given the ammunition to go
mm,
and fight for
mm,
this top four that we
mm,
claim to want to achieve. Because the guys, when Edu and Vinay went on and gave that whole interview the other day, or 2 or 3 weeks ago, saying yes, that's their goal. They want a challenge. They're backing Arteta. They've got
mm,
this new slick operating model where
mm,
Arteta and Edu sit and identify players, and between the two of them, they will decide who they're going to buy, and then they go and present those players to the board. You know, when I look
mm,
at it now, they've said all of that, but since that convo, okay, besides the signing of Gabriel, which also I think probably had happened before that, it was just
mm,
dotting the I
mm,
and crossing the
mm,
T's and
mm,
making sure that the player
mm.
had gone through his COVID testing and and and, and isolated for the required period,
Mm,
right? Nothing of substance has happened since that.
mm,
To say that we are actually backing this manager. Here you go. Here's Thomas Partey. Here
Mm.
you go. Here's Jose Mawa. Or
So
if you're not getting Thomas Partey,
you
Jose
don't.
Mawa. Here
Okay,
is replacement.
wait.
Yeah.
We're about to get. It's like that. Yeah. Wait, let's talk about the match. Let's talk about the match because I was about to take it to another level. I was like, yeah. So you don't
Okay.
give.
All right. All right. Let's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Like, but I'm not even disagreeing with anything that you're saying because your critique is like it's good, you know, and you're giving me perspective as well. Like that I shouldn't be fooled. That's really what you're saying. That's what I get. That don't be fooled by these two victories. You know, we still have quite a long way to go, even though they were hard
Yeah.
fought victories. Yeah. So, all right.
Yeah. And these are games we would have lost traditionally, probably a year ago or
Yeah.
8 months. You know what I'm saying?
Mm,
9 months ago. These are
mm,
probably games that we could have lost, and that is probably testament
yeah.
to the work ethic and the organization that Arteta has instilled
Yeah.
in the team. Sacrificing obviously the attractive style of play
Mm.
and the free flowing football that we are used to seeing in the past. And I think that's one of the sacrifices he's had to make, just so that we are not as leaky
So,
as we were in the past and we're a bit more resilient. But yeah.
who was your man of the match?
Whew, man of the match. Yeah,
Why?
tough one, eh?
No one impressed
Okay,
you.
so I don't want to say this guy was man of the match, man, because I still think he's rubbish. Um, actually, you know what? Actually, yes, I do have a man of the match. Sorry, yo,
Uh,
I almost yeah. I think David Luiz was my man of the match.
yeah.
He hardly put a foot wrong.
Mm,
He was strong. He
mm,
knew when to press Iheanacho. I mean, whenever Iheanacho was getting a lot of joy
mm,
out of Rob Holding in that first half.
mm,
Was playing a
mm,
lot, and I don't know what brought about the change or whether he moved more away from him, because it seemed as if in the second half, David Luiz was the one picking up Iheanacho, and
mm,
he nullified him. Like
mm,
he was physically, he was able to match him physically. Whenever he was dropping deep, he was following him and winning, pinching the ball in front of him. And I
mm.
think he hardly put a foot wrong, you know. And the other guy, obviously, I was thinking of who I think deserves an honorable mention was Kolasinac. I think he had a great game. Besides, and you know, I
Yeah,
honestly am not a fan of him, and
I was about to
I
say,
think honestly his days are
didn't I just hear you trash
numbered.
talking?
Hey man, that guy is not good enough. That guy. But anyway, on the flip side of that, I think, you know, despite that amazing game that I think he had, because I think he had a pretty
Mm,
good game
mm,
defensively. That is
mm,
going
mm,
forward. I mean, still he was quite deficient. He was still getting,
mm,
not passing correctly or not getting forward in
mm,
the right manner, not delivering the right balls.
mm,
But defensively, I think he had a very, very solid game. But I mean, one of the key issues I still have with him is that like that chance that Ayoze Perez had
mm,
towards the end of the game, which he
mm,
should have buried that
mm,
header. It
mm,
shows the issue I
mm,
have with Kolasinac, that
mm.
he still can't defend crosses. He doesn't track runners, you know. And if stuff
Yeah,
is not happening in front of him, where he's going to almost closing the guy down, and if you know what I'm saying. So like if he's not literally, if the guy's not dropping deep and he's also going deep with him and closing him down in that manner, he seems to not be able to defend any
yeah.
other. So whenever a guy is running in behind him or a
Mm,
guy's turned and running in at him, he still doesn't seem to know how to defend. Whenever a
mm,
guy's
mm,
running in at him, he seems to me to be always literally just backtracking,
mm,
and allowing
mm,
the guy too much space
mm,
to shoot.
mm,
If the
mm,
guy's off the ball and he's running, he's still not tracking the run, and you see a
mm.
lot of guys get into good positions where the
Yeah.
ball gets crossed in, and Kolasinac hasn't tracked the runner,
Mm,
or the cross gets played and Kolasinac doesn't jump for the header, you know,
mm,
and he gives the
mm,
guy a free
mm,
header
mm.
or an easy header. So those are still the things that I think, and for me, I don't really see him improving in those aspects,
Yeah,
and which is
yeah.
why I think that despite like a game like today where all of the stuff that was happening was really in front of him, and I think he
Mm,
was able to defend
mm,
it. But once those scenarios happen in a match that I've mentioned, he usually is found wanting, and I think he won't improve on that. And thus, we need to really look at finding a better player
mm.
to help reinforce the squad. Because as I say at the moment, if Terrentini goes down with an injury,
Yeah.
we look very, very tricky.
yeah.
With that game.
But okay, all right. What about El
Yeah,
Neni?
El
What what
Neni kid was good.
what
He
what do
was.
you have
I
to
think
say
he had.
about him?
So he was. Look, and the thing with El Neni is that, and maybe it's also maybe it's also just because Joe Willock had such a poor first half. But I
Mm,
think defensively in the first half, as I was saying, Madison was leading these guys on
mm,
their merry dance. Um, and Chowdhury and them, they had a lot of the ball, and we couldn't seem to be able to, we couldn't close them down, and they seemed to get a lot of joy, and we were able to play down our middle. I think
mm,
as soon as Willock found his feet, then I think El Neni was also kind of was then able to play his more
mm,
natural game, and then was
mm,
able to dictate play, get on the ball a lot more, and he was not running around as much because I felt that in the first half he was doing a lot of covering for Willock and also doing a lot of playing for Willock because Willock was just anonymous in that.
but
So
were you
anyway, that's a
impressed by
long-winded answer, but I think he had a good game. But as I'm saying, that guys like him, maybe in games like the Carabao and all of that, if you want to rest key players, then you'll come into that. But as I'm saying, that over the course of a season, if we are trying to push for the top four, we cannot be relying on. We can't rely on like El Neni. Like let's say Ceballos gets an injury, we're not going to bring on El
him?
Neni and he's going to be the creative spark in our midfield. You
Yeah,
know what I'm saying?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
he's,
yeah.
he's, he's not the guy I would expect to get the 20 games, off of him where he'll come and he'll make it the difference. So he's still for me, he's still a good squad player. If we can get rid of him, that will be ideal. If not, then I think obviously if we are able to get reinforcements and he just carries on the squad player role that he has, then I'll be willing to keep him. But as I'm saying that for me, we should be looking to get better players than
Mm,
the likes of El Neni. You
mm,
know,
yeah.
so
Okay,
yeah.
so another player to talk about since it was like his first full game this season is Pepe. What comments do you have about Pepe today?
Pepe, look, I think Pepe had a very, very poor first half.
Mm,
He was giving away the ball quite a lot. He wasn't really getting a lot of the ball as well. And I also think he wasn't pressing as well as he usually does. I think actually I think the whole front three weren't really coherent in terms of how they set their press in the first half. In the second half, though, like most of his counterparts, I think he really grew into the game, and I think he had a much stronger second half of the game. He was pressing a lot better, closing down a lot better, and he was actually able to pinch quite a lot of balls.
mm,
Um,
mm,
in you pinched a lot of balls in our final third, which were able to set off attacks, which I think we weren't able to. Obviously, we didn't capitalize on that. So and especially in a game like this where you look at a guy like Bakayo Saka, who I think had quite a very good first half and
first
faded
half.
away obviously
Yeah, yeah,
towards the end. And I was
yeah.
looking at it at halftime, I was like, but you know, this is the type of game, the game that Bakayo Saka had in the first half. I was
Mm,
looking at it at halftime and saying that this is what I should be expecting. This is what I expect to see. Leading the team, looking like the star man who's going to
mm.
be creating creating
Like
for
the
the club,
like the real
looking
number seven.
looking
Mm,
yeah, looking hungry
mm,
to reclaim his
mm,
position or
mm,
his spot in
mm,
the team that has been taken away by Willian. So I was
mm,
quite disappointed with him. Between him and Ainsley Maitland-Niles, they were the two
mm,
poorest players
mm, mm, mm.
in our first half. Oh, and with Joe Willock, obviously.
Yeah.
But then obviously, I think he kind of then in the second half, he played. I think he played. Obviously, he got a lot better.
Mm,
And obviously he did help create that goal that we got towards the end. But obviously, but there are elements of his game that he still needs to work on. His
mm,
end product. He still needs to just work on his end product. He needs to also maybe work on his right foot, because he's been predictable. People know that
yeah.
he's going to always cut in.
Yeah.
And a
Yeah.
lot of the time his chances looks like these chances are presenting
Yeah.
themselves on his right foot, and I think he should work on that and trust it a lot more,
Yeah.
just like
Yeah.
what he did for the goal,
Yeah.
the first goal that we
Yeah.
created. But I think he's had a slow start. It seems to the new season. I'm
Mm.
hoping that he will grow like he did, um, like he did last
Last
season, and
season.
maybe like
Exceed.
especially post, especially
Mm.
post the COVID break.
Yeah.
I'm just hoping that this is maybe just because it's the start of the season and he's still just coming up to speed. But I'm hoping to see a lot more performances from him, like what we saw towards the end of last season.
Mm.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Because I
So
think for me, that's the guy we tipped to be the breakthrough player for
yeah,
for for, for this season, right? We were
yeah,
expecting him to
exactly.
really
Yeah.
kick off his
Now that he's been around for over a year, he
yeah.
should at least by now understand how things are done on this side. Um. Okay. What else did I want to ask? I don't.
What the worst player?
Yeah, worst player. Yeah.
Worst player, my man, was for me was, and I hate to say this, like how I hate to praise Kolasinac. I don't like to criticize this man.
uh.
But I think Ainsley had a very, very poor match. He's
Yeah.
probably one of the only. He is probably the only guy who had a poor match all around. A lot of the guys either had a poor first half or a poor second half. He was poor all around. He was very
Consistently.
sloppy in possession.
Mm.
He was very casual. And this is my problem with Ainsley is that he doesn't, for me, seem to take these types of games seriously. So
Mm.
if you thrust him in against a Liverpool, a Man United,
You see a
the
different
big games,
performance.
you
Mm.
see a different performance. You
Mm.
see him very, very like determined,
Mm.
winning every challenge, making sure of
Mm.
his passes,
Mm.
playing
Mm.
intricately, you know,
Mm.
tracking his man, not letting anyone past him. First off, I mean, I was seeing Damari Gray literally making mincemeat of him,
Mm.
seeing the likes of Madison beating him quite easily.
Mm.
Um, and for a guy who we've seen man mark Salah out of games,
Mm.
man marking Mahrez out of games, he's got that in his luck. He should be having these guys in his pocket, you
Yeah.
know. But and that's the thing. So for me, and I think maybe that's what the one thing that I think Arteta had identified when he first came in, and maybe it's something that he's working on to get him to take games like this as
Mm.
seriously as he takes the big derby games
The
and the
big games. Yeah.
big games against our rivals.
Yeah.
Because for me, it wasn't a lack of ability today; it was just a lack of application
Yeah.
um, throughout the whole match. I mean, there was
Yeah.
some routine balls that he
Mm.
was giving away. I
Mm.
think also the reason why Pepe performed so poorly was purely because he wasn't getting those balls fed
That
into him
supply chain.
by
Yeah.
some he would look up and then we'll decide, no, actually let me just play the square ball or play the backwards pass back to Rob Holding or play the square ball back to El Neni
Mm.
or Willock, and Willock would lose it. Whereas Pepe wasn't, especially in the second half. Pepe was starting to make a lot of good runs
Mm.
and he wasn't feeding him in time and early enough, and
Mm.
he really, really needs to work on that aspect of his game for him to really be the class player and realize the potential, the vast amount of potential that he has.
Mm.
At this, yeah, I think for me he was our worst player today.
So you're looking to see a big game performance from him this coming weekend against Liverpool, huh? Because that's what he
Yeah,
specializes in. But do you trust him?
yeah,
Do you trust him to play? You know,
yeah.
you
So look,
do.
I mean, if you think about it, in in the three big games we played post lockdown, where he played in that left wing back position, he delivered.
Mm.
He delivered in the semi-final, delivered in the final, delivered in the Charity Shield.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
so and it seems that Arteta really trusts them in these
Mm.
big games. You
Mm.
know, so I trust him given that track record, even though it's a very small sample size of games. But just purely because out of the recency of those performances and that they were
Mm.
quite
Mm.
recent,
Mm. Mm.
I trust him for him to be able to switch it on
Mm.
again, and be able to deliver that performance again against Liverpool, especially if he's got Tierney next to him. I think he's got a very good working relationship
Mm.
with Kieran Tierney on that left hand side. And for Tierney, who it looks like he will be fit for the Liverpool game. If both of those guys are fit and they do start, I expect them to have good games, and we are quite reliant on them having good games for us to get a positive result and
So,
avoid our annual spanking at Anfield.
okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe we can wrap it up on this note, and because we concluded that uh we didn't, maybe I don't know if you'd agree, but we've concluded that we were undeserving of this score line. Maybe the victory we deserve, but the score line
Yeah.
were undeserving. Okay, so now, will should it happen, we go to Liverpool and we come out with the results there, will that persuade you that maybe our team might be onto something?
So
Or,
yes and
or will
no.
you say
So
it's still early?
no. So yes and no. So
Mm,
yes, it will persuade me that we are on something because it will just show me that reinforce the thought that is starting to build in a lot of people's minds is that we've got a game plan for these
mm,
bigger
mm,
sides, and
mm, mm, mm,
we're not anymore. Hopefully, we're not gonna walk into these big games anymore expecting threes and fours,
mm,
right?
mm,
Collecting absolute hidings in those matches.
mm,
But then again, it's very easy to play in those games the way we set up because we set up to play on the counter, park the bus, and
mm,
break, which is
mm,
very
mm,
easy to do given the front three that we've got, right? And also the strengths of usually the opposition that we're playing. Like a lot of those, like if you look at Liverpool, if you look at Man City, and to extent like if Giroud is not playing as well, if you look at Chelsea, they're not really designed. They're not really that good. Park a lot of players in the box, they're not really able to cross the ball in and
penetrate,
get
yeah.
headers. We'd expect David Luiz to be able to deal with crosses from quite far out wide or on the byline, crosses into the box. You expect holding David Luiz, Kieran Tierney to be able to deal with those types of aerial balls, you
Mm,
know. And then obviously for us to be able to break with pace on the counter.
mm,
So obviously, as we said, that the yes is that obviously it'll tell me that we've got that game plan to beat
mm,
those teams. The no will be that on the flip side, though, for me, my concern is that the teams that we should be beating, your your West Hams, you know, your let's say your West Brom, because the teams we traditionally struggle against,
mm,
West Brom at the Hawthorns,
mm.
West Ham, Leeds United, those types of
Wolves.
teams.
Mm, mm.
Wolves. Okay, Wolves, we they're at our level, so it's not a team game that we expect. I'm talking about the guys from 10th downwards,
Okay,
teams
okay.
that you expect.
Mm,
Maybe not. Let me not say maybe from 12th down, from Southampton down, usually from like 11th, 12th down. Teams
mm,
like Southampton,
mm,
for example,
mm,
those type of
mm,
teams where we are forced to actually now be the protagonists, be the guys who are initiating the playing, being the ones who are meant to create, like what we saw on the weekend, where West Ham parked the bus and play us on the break where we had a lot more of the ball and we now meant to create. It's games like that where I'm still concerned that A, we don't have the creativity to break them down because our midfield is poor, and B, we don't have the engines and the power in the middle and the legs to be able to keep up with them when they do break.
mm,
We don't really have the athleticism to be
mm,
able to thwart them when they do play us on the counter, to
mm,
to
mm,
foul guys to foul guys tactically, to
mm,
track our runners, to
mm,
close guys down. When they do get towards the edge of our box. Um,
mm,
and it's for me that is still the concern that I have, and I honestly don't think with the players we have we found the solution to to kind of mitigate those issues or those risks that we have. We might have found with the players we have. I think we found the formula to play against the big sides, but we don't really have a formula to play the smaller sides. But obviously now, as I'm saying, the caveat to that, we can play the big sides. It's just
mm,
based on those
mm, mm,
last three games we played against the big
mm,
sides,
mm,
you know. But as I'm saying that now, this still is. So for me, it's obviously that growing belief that we do have a plan. But if we now go and lose to Liverpool or don't get it, or we'll get thumped by Liverpool, I still think like if we lose 2-1 to Liverpool, a lot of people will look and say, hey, look, we played well. It was a decent result. I'm not decent result, but we kept it close. At the end of the day, we lost. It's not embarrassing to lose 2-1, let's say, to Liverpool.
Especially this
But we
early.
rock up there and we get 3-0 or 4-0,
Mm,
5-1, whatever it is.
mm,
Then I think all of that hard work and that belief that we've built that we can play in these big games will unravel again, and it'll be about now rebuilding that confidence for that next big game against Man City. I think would be the next big game after that, and who've got after that. I think it's Man United as well.
yeah,
I think we've got the
United. Yeah,
same game
yeah.
after that, and Leicester as well.
Mm,
I think we've
mm,
also got Leicester. So yeah, it's that. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the game. Hopefully, Arteta again can work wonders. I'm hoping that we don't have any incidents with VAR or any red
mm,
cards, or
mm, mm,
so I'm just hoping that our players keep their heads. We don't see like nonsense like what Christensen did in the last match when Chelsea were playing Liverpool. So I'm hoping we keep it 11v11.
mm,
Don't make any silly mistakes, and then I
mm,
think if we do that, take our chances, because we will have very few chances in that match.
mm, mm.
Take our chances. I think we can at least walk away with the draw
Yeah.
in that match. I think so winning that game would still be, beyond our wildest dreams to go and win in Anfield. We haven't done that in a very, very long time.
Mm, mm,
But I think that if we've got all our key players available, fit and available, and we don't do any stupid things like the things that I've mentioned,
mm,
I
mm,
think we can walk away with a result there.
mm. No.
Yeah. Or at least walk
I'm,
away with our heads held up high,
yeah,
and
yeah.
not receive our annual hiding as we
Annual Enfield hiding.
yeah, annual Enfield hiding, yeah.
So, all right. No, no. You know what, man? It's been a good convo, man. It's been a good convo. But I think the one that's going to be great is,
Yeah.
should we get the result at Liverpool? You are the first person I want to speak to, because
Yeah, man.
I,
Totally. It's fine. I'll still
I,
say the same thing. I'll still say the same thing, that I'm not convinced against the small teams that we've got this personnel
you wouldn't be
until
convinced
we
by an
sign the
Arsenal.
players.
You wouldn't be convinced by an Arsenal beating a Liverpool with Mo Salah,
That will finish
Sadio
top
Mane,
4.
and
No.
Alcantara. Okay, all right. No, let's
Yeah.
leave it on that hot take. Yo, Nqobile, thanks so much for coming through. Thanks for sharing your thoughts with me, man. Uh, I am looking forward to the Liverpool chat with you, man, over the weekend.
Yeah,
And
so am I, man.
yeah, to the listeners, subscribers, please don't forget to share, like, subscribe. We got content like this for all videos every match day, all season. So yeah, it's GunaCast_SA. It's your boy Match Day Uno, my guest Nqobile. Thanks so much for being here, man. Cool.
Cheers, man. Thanks a lot, man. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you,
And
man.
yeah, man. Hey, we won, bro. I'm gonna sleep happy, man.
Yeah, exactly. Let's sleep happy, man. Okay, cool.